Alright guys, welcome back. So let's move on to some of the rendering part of our simulation. So now we have the cached results, everything seems to be fine. Uh, and some of the later frames may take a while to load, so let's work on those previous ones. Yeah, that's the important ones anyways. Let me turn off the wireframe so we can take a look at it. Okay, one of the things you're probably wondering is that is there a way that we can give them different color? Uh, of course we can, but we have to do some tricks here. So first of all, in the realm of volumes, right, you don't just do a add attribute or attribute wrangle and say add CD equals something. It doesn't work that way. If you want color, you have to have this color voxel field. To do that, or volume, to do that we can copy from this guy. So I'm going to drag from it. I'm going to create a delete. Okay, this delete will allow me to just isolate the density. So I'm going to choose density underneath group and say delete non-selected. This will give me just the density. Okay, just density. And then the density can be converted into anything else by using a volume ramp. A volume ramp allows us, if you take a look at the documentation. Oops. It is designed to use the volume as a key to local values in the ramp to generate a new volume of the same resolution and size, which is perfectly for our cases. So we can use volume ramp to change the density into CD. Okay, and it's a color ramp, so check on color ramp. Now if you're holding down with the mouse button here, you can see now it becomes CD, X, Y, and Z. Okay. Now we can actually drag down from the original and tap in merge to merge the new CD to our voxel fields or volumes. You'll be able to see now we have 3 more voxels here, CD, X, Y, and Z. Okay, now that's how you create new voxels by duplicating from the original ones. Alright, now let's say we're happy with this now. I'm going to go ahead and create maybe a attribute wrangle, right, to actually do some changing to the color. Now it's going to be, oops, let's use VopSop because this is actually more color related or texture related. So I'm going to use volume Vop instead. I'm going to name this guy volume Vop colorize. Now this is going to take a while to update things. I hate doing that, so I'm going to go ahead and change the auto update to manual. Down there, if you click on the drop down menu, it's off screen, but you can change this to manual to really tell it to not update until you tell it to. I'm going to change this guy to volume Vop coloring. Okay, so instead of it, I'm going to use its graph to determine the color of the smoke. So I'm going to go ahead and drag out from density. I'm going to use density to determine the color. For the high density ones, I kind of want a brownish dust color, and when it gets to center parts, it's going to change to something white. So I'm going to create this ramp parameter. This is going to drop down something like this. It's going to use the density as the driver to drive a ramp. Now the result will be export band or band export as the CD. Now the type will be again a color. So I'm going to choose color right here. Now that should allow us to change the color based on the density. Alright. Now to really visualize that though, we have to actually go back, and then let's actually create a knob here just to have a ending for this part. I'm going to call this guy smoke colored. Okay, now going back to the outside, we're gonna actually try to do some render to take a look at the result. So let's go to some frame. Oh, we're not updating, so let's change that to auto update now, and go to some frame, maybe frame 12 or so. Okay, and let's take a look at the render. I'm going to go to the render view, use our camera render, and also the render here. So let's take a look. Now we have the basic color happening here. We haven't changed anything here in the VOP yet, so we're going to go ahead and actually go back to the outside. The ramp should be here already, because it is a parameter. It should be on the outside of the volume VOP. So let's actually do some changing. Like I'm gonna change this white guy to red. As you can see now, the color actually changes. So we can maybe change this guy to white. Right. That's the low density ones, and the red one will be the high density ones. I'm gonna choose a brownish color, so something like this will be suit for my purposes. Okay. Now I also kind of wanted to remap this. Now there are many ways. One of the easy ways is remap by dragging those sliders to change the proportion of these guys. So I can have a bit more white color and lesser brown color. Really drag it. To the edge. Doesn't do too much, so I'm gonna cancel that. I'm gonna use a different approach, because the color range is actually ranging from not just 0 to 1 though, so I'm gonna go inside of the volume VOP. Remember that the density is actually ranging from 0 to something around 4 or even higher than that, as we tested earlier. So I'm gonna create a fit range here to help me. So put it here, right? I'm going to change the source max to 6 instead of 4. Now you can see I'm really remapping the color, and now I can determine exactly how many brown color I want to have in the system. Alright, so that's the coloration. You can go ahead and do more if you wanted to. I'm just going to settle down with this because I don't really want it to have a complicated color variation. So let me stop this right here. If you do want to, you can emit color based on the material beneath it. That's going to be a more advanced topic, and that should be actually done in the simulation part. Anyway, let me go back to the smoke sim cache. I'm going to give it a material. So here I'm going to go navigate to material land. I'm going to tap in Pyro shader. And this Pyro shader will be named to smoke, right? And I'm gonna go back to my object and grab the source simulation cache and apply that material. So here I'm gonna go to the chooser here and choose the Pyro shader smoke and set that. All right. Now let's take a look at the render now. As you can see, the material actually overrides the color, so we have to do some settings in the material. It's basically you just have to change the smoke color back to white, right? And everything goes back. One of the trick here is that you have to make sure that the tint smoke color with CD is on. CD is the CD field, not the CD attribute. The field is what it's looking for. So you gotta have to have the CD field. Okay. Alright, so now we have the color created, and that's gonna be it for this tutorial, right? In the next one, we're gonna move on to some more detailing about the material. Okay, see you next time.